Hello, welcome to the 30k channel. I'm your host David, and I'm really pleased to say that Adeptus Titanicus is back, and I would love to welcome my guests. We've seen them before, John and Al. Good morning, gentlemen.
How are you doing?
Hi.
Right.
Great. Now, really awesome to have these blokes back on for Adeptus Titanicus. It's been a long time, but we're back in full swing. And John, Alistair, you've returned, which is so good of you. Thank you so much.
There goes I'm back.
Good.
Yeah.
And you brought some really beautiful maniples, haven't you? John, what have you brought?
Other than my Solaria from last time, I've gone for a Traitor Legio. I've gone for Legio Magna. So a bit of orange this time, so it's a bit different to everything else I've done.
Looks good. And Al, what have you got?
I've got a Legio Atarus, and basically it's all sort of bony and red colour.
It's also your sixth.
It's one of my, I've done a few Legios in my time. I tend to buy them, paint them, play with them, then sell them to fund more, and then build another one. So I'm hoping to do another Traitor one after this.
You know, Alistair, you're pretty prolific on with your purchasing and buying and playing and gaming. You know, you get through quite a few, don't you?
Yes, I just love these models.
Yeah.
I just think they're the best, nicest models I've ever built and painted. They go well. I really want to convert one to a Chaos Warped one at some point as well. So that's my next objective.
Yeah, they go together well, and you can paint them in parts. They're just easy to do. You can do loads of options. In terms of like Legio rules, they're not that massive in the game, so you can really go with what you fancy. So it's good.
It's one of the best kits, and I think that one of the biggest things, you know, Games Workshop have finally put holes for magnets, and it's just the most amazing thing. And you know, we've seen loads of people paint up the different arms. You can just mag them on and off, and it just makes the kit so much more usable. It's very, very cool. Now, gents, you've returned, so thank you so much for that. And we've got a game. Can you, John? Can you tell us a little bit about the game we've got planned for today?
So this is one of the special legendary scenarios. Battle under Alexis, I want to say, and it's set in the dark. Has some special rules. So whenever a Titan's activated, you roll 3d10 plus scale, and that's how far they can see, unless the opponent's Titan has vented plasma that turn or fired, because they kind of give themselves away. Deployment was different. We're quite close together. Alistair deployed half his models first, and then me half, and then Alistair half. And there's another additional rule, which is I get to keep half of my Titans in reserve as an ambush, and they get to come on any table edge from turn 2 within 6 inches. So it can be quite brutal as long as I survive the first turn normally.
Yeah. So that's to represent the trap that John's Legio has set for me. So basically his Titans are hiding, powered down, and so after the second turn onwards they can come up, but he's restricted on how many shields to represent them just powering up.
Yeah, it's like a random D3 for that turn. So I'm not in a great state when I appear, but I can be in a good position, which is interesting.
Now, Al, you've both played a few demos for this game. How has it gone in general?
Don't ask.
It's brutal. I mean, there's things Alistair I think has learnt to get away from board edges to avoid turn 1 charges in the back. On the flip side, though, me trying to stay alive for the first turn.
So I basically need to get as close as I can to try and finish off, get as much damage to his Titans and as close to his Titans on the board in the first turn as I can. And and try and do as much, at least try and wipe one of them out if I can in one turn, so that it's not so bad. I mean, I have, to compensate John coming on, I have got about 240, 220, something like that.
Warhound
just
Titan.
over 200 points more than John, just to compensate.
And
for
you
that.
have an additional stratagem, was it Noble Sacrifice, so he can choose to blow himself up at any point if he wants to.
If my reactor's in the orange and red, which it will be.
It's going to be a really interesting game. One thing you have to bear in mind is that this board is essentially set underground. So I have done a board build video for this board, and it was really difficult to kind of represent a cavern. So you kind of have to imagine there's a roof and there's stalagmites and stalactites, and I talked about perhaps representing the edge of the cavern by having kind of rock walls, but I did try it out and it didn't quite work, and that's kind of where we arrived on with this board. So we've kind of got like a central objective really, or a central focal point which the Legios are kind of manoeuvring around. So hopefully it feels cavern-like, but we'll find out. In regards to stratagems, I am going to flash them up at the bottom of the screen right now so you can see them for your pleasure. Obviously, they're secret from each player, so we'll keep them to ourselves. John, can you tell us about the victory point conditions?
So different to other scenarios, this one is basically to kill each other. It's an ambush, so victory conditions are you add up the points value of any Titan that is destroyed, and if at the end of the game there's a 500 point or greater difference between one of us, then they're the winner. If it's below that, then it's a draw.
So Alistair, what are your tactics for this game?
Try and survive and kill as much. Try and kill as much in the first turn as I can before his reinforcements come on behind me or on my flank.
Excellent. John, what do you got? What's your battle plan?
Hopefully, get on behind him with some good charges. There's no restrictions when I come on, apart from the lost shield, so I can move and charge and order. In fact, I think I can get first order.
Yeah, you're
first fire orders for free on the turn I arrive. Otherwise, I roll. But I got some Legio traits that can help me out with that. And so hopefully, if I get some good charge off, it'll be good. Otherwise, the numbers are going to be telling because he has 4 or 5 more models than I do.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting game, and we cover. We're going to go through all of the Titans, all the Legio traits, and the Princeps traits, and everything else in the next segment. But before we do that, there is a roll off to see who gets the first turn, I guess. So Alistair, you're going to roll, aren't you?
Yeah.
What have you got?
5.
5. John?
A 9.
Oh.
So I'll take it. I'll take the first.
Oh, thanks, John.
All right, it's going to be a really fun game. Good luck to you both. I wish you the best. And now we'll go on to the forces, and then we'll go on to the first turn.
1,740 points of Legio Magna in a Ruptura Battle Line Maniple. The Ruptura Battle Line Maniple allows any Reaver to power to the locomotives for free. In addition, if any Warbringer Nemesis Titan causes catastrophic damage on an enemy Titan, all Reaver Titans can get a free move that turn. The Princeps Signoris of the Maniple is in a Reaver Titan with a Carapace Vulcan Megabolter, a Chain Fist and a Melter Cannon. The Princeps Signoris trait is Messenger of Death, which increases the Legio trait of Howls of the Damned to 15 inches for this Titan. Next are the 2 compulsory Nemesis Warbringer Titans, both armed with a Carapace Quake Cannon and a Reaver Volcano Cannon, one of which has a Laser Blaster and the other one has a Melter Cannon. They are named respectively Destined Sorrow and Mother and Despair. Next in the Maniple are 2 Reaver Titans. The first, Hatred Unbound, is armed with a Volcano Cannon, a Carapace Warp Missile and a Melter Cannon. The second, Pugnacious, is armed with a Laser Blaster, a Power Fist and a Carapace Apocalypse Missile Launcher.
This is 1960 points of Legio Atarus, consisting of 2 maniples, which are an Arcus maniple and a Corsair maniple. First up is the Arcus maniple, which consists of a Nemesis Warbringer Titan and 3 Warhound Titans. The Nemesis is the Princeps for the maniple and the battle group. Arcus maniple allows coordinated relay, which allows the Nemesis Titan to target enemy units out of its line of sight as long as one of the Warhounds has line of sight. This is the Nemesis Warbringer Titan Mortem Magna. It is armed with Carapace Quake Cannon, Laser Blaster and Volcano Cannon arms. The Princeps trait is Unconventional Thinker, which allows the Titan to move up to D6 inches once an enemy Titan has activated on moving or firing, once per game. The rest of the maniple consists of 3 Warhounds, which are Death Runner, which is armed with a Laser Destructor and Vulcan Megabolter, Iron Hunger, which is armed with a Vulcan Megabolter and Plasma Blast Gun, and Canis Ultra, which is also armed with a Vulcan Megabolter and Plasma Blast Gun. The second maniple is a Corsair maniple, which consists of 3 Reavers, and these are allowed to move outside of their forward arc, sidestepping or backstepping without any restriction to movement. The Corsair maniple consists of 3 Reavers, which are Storm Herald, which is armed with a Chain Fist and Volcano Cannon and a Carapace Apocalypse Missile Launcher. Liber Bellum, which is armed with a Gatling Blaster and Laser Blaster and a Carapace Apocalypse Missile Launcher. And Bellum Sacrum, which is armed with a Gatling blaster, melter cannon and a carapace megabolter.
Turn 1 Legio Magna priority. The leftmost Warbringer Nemesis Titan went for a first fire order and failed on a 2. Legio Magna rolled pretty well for the night fight rules, giving me long ranges, but we may not use these as that would give me away to the opposing Titans.
So first turn for Legio Atarus, we issued full stride orders to the leftmost 2 Reavers, and then no more orders for the other Titans. The night vision distance is a mixed bag for our Titans.
Legio Magna strategy phase. We decided to play the stratagem Blind Barrage on the opposing Nemesis Warbringer Titan. Because of the mana pool it's in, it can indirect fire, but with the -2, I can take that out of the game. Legio Magna movement phase, first activation. The Reaver move forward to gain some cover from the building and keep the Warhound in its front arc.
Legio Atarus, first activation is Reaver Titan Storm Herald, which moved forward 6 inches, pushing its reactor to gain another 3 inches, so 9 inches in total. And the reactor went up 1 point.
Next activation in the movement phase for Legio Magna, the Warbringer, Mother of Despair, moved up to stand next to its counterpart.
Atarus' second activation is the Reaver Titan Liber Bellum, which advanced to go behind his colleague Storm Herald. It pushed its reactor to gain an extra couple of inches of movement, and the reactor went up 1.
Legio Magna activation, the Warbringer Destined Sorrow realigned itself so that it could aim towards the Atarus Warhound Squadron, at which point they activated the trick Thermal Mines, causing 2 structure points damage to its legs.
Atarus remaining activations. The Reaver moved up and pushed the reactor to get extra movement and went up 1 reactor level. The Warbringer just moved up, and then the Warhounds moved as a squadron up towards the enemy Reaver in front of them. Turn 1, damage control phase. Magma had no damage, so no rolls were required. Atarus had 3 Reavers with plasma, and they rolled to vent plasma, succeeding in venting the plasma on 2 of the 3 Reavers. They are, however, now visible as they have vented plasma, so with the night rules, they can be seen for this turn.
Turn 1 combat phase, Legio Magna Reaver Pugnacious opened up with all of its weapons on the Warhound Squadron. It rolled 3 1s, missing with everything, gaining 1 scatter and knocking 1 shield down on the rearmost Warhound.
Legio Atarus combat phase, first activation, the Warhound Squadron. The rearmost Warhound activated and fired all its weapons at the enemy Reaver in front of him, with -2 to hit because he's obscured by the 2 Warhounds in front of them. They fired the Mega Bolter first, scoring 5 hits, with one of them being a 6, which was the reason why he got an extra hit. The Reaver then pushed the reactor for the shields, re-rolling 1s, and gained no reactor and only lost 1 shield. The laser blaster then fired with draining to get shield bane. It gained 2 heats and failed to hit. Next Warhound in the squadron fired at the Reaver in front of them, firing the Mega Bolter first, hitting 5 times. The Reaver pushed the reactor and the Reaver gained 2 reactor points. It managed to save the shields but lost 2. With 1 remaining, the blast gun then fired, hitting once and stripped the final shield. The final Warhound in the squadron fired at the Reaver. It fired its plasma gun first at maximal firepower, causing one hit blast marker to hit. The other one scattered and missed. It also rolled a 1 on that, which caused a reactor to go up 1. Hitting the head, causing 3 points of damage. The Mega Bolter then aimed at the head, taking advantage of the damage already suffered, but failed to do any damage.
Magna combat phase activation. The Warbringer Destined Sorrow fired all its weapons at the Warhound squadron in front of it. It gained 3 reactor heat, but forced 3 reactor heat on the Warhound squadron, and they lost 3 shields.
Next activation for Atarus is the Reaver, which had full stride orders. It pushed reactor, gaining 1 reactor point, and moved forward 9 inches.
Next activation in the combat phase was the Warbringer Mother of Despair, which hit with its volcano cannon and its quake cannon, but missed with the melter cannon. It forced the rearmost Warhound to lose its shield and pushed all Warhounds into the orange on heat. It also costed the Warhound squadron 3 shields.
Atarus final activations. The final Reaver on full stride orders pushed the reactor with 1 point and moved up behind the other Reaver. The final Reaver has no line of sight to any enemy models, so did nothing. Then the Nemesis fired its volcano cannon and quake cannon at the furthest Nemesis of Legio Magna. Due to the blind barrage, it had -2 to hit, so with the range, needed 6s to hit, missed with the volcano cannon, and the quake cannon managed to making it lose 1 shield. The laser blaster had no line of sight, so did not fire.
Turn 1 end phase, neither side had any rolls for any criticals. Overall, Magna is looking in a pretty dicey state. The Reaver Pugnacious has lost its shield and started to take damage, but I do get my reserves coming on next turn. Turn 2, strategy phase. Atarus won the roll off for priority. Before that, Legio Magna deployed its hidden assets, which were the 2 Reavers that appeared on the right table edge. Also, they played their stratagem Spearhead Assault, which gives them +1 to hit and +1 armor rolls for any shots this turn if they're within 8 inches of an enemy Titan.
Strategy phase. The Atarus Warhounds failed the command check. They are unable to charge the Reaver. No more orders can be given for any of the maniples.
Turn 2, strategy phase, Legio Magna. Both Warbringers did not issue any orders to give them some flexibility. The Reaver Titan Pugnacious went into emergency repairs and regained 2 shields. But most importantly, the 2 oncoming Reavers on the right hand side both successfully got charge orders.
Atarus, first activation, Reaver Titan moved to get into arc of enemy Titans.
Turn 2, movement phase. A successful charge by the Magna Reaver into the Atarus Reaver's rear arc. He got 6 attacks due to the extra attacks on the charge orders. These need 2 to hit. That's 6 successful hits. After all damage was added up, the Reaver Chain Fist scored 2 direct, 1 devastating and 2 critical hits, causing the Atarus Reaver to be in the last critical damage.
Atarus, second activation, movement phase. The Reaver Titan pushed its reactor to gain extra turns, turned 3 turns, and then moved backwards using its Corsair rule, which allowed it to do full movement backwards to try and get out of arc of the other Reaver.
Second, Legio Magna Reaver, Hatred Unbound, pulled off the charge and got within 2 inches of both Reavers of Atarus. It was a difficult decision on who to fight, but I chose to go with the damaged Reaver just because he hadn't moved and therefore may have moved away. Predictably, the Reaver Power Fist did its job and took the last damage off the enemy Reaver. This caused catastrophic damage, engine kill. After the catastrophic damage was rolled, Wildfire, the enemy Reaver turned round and shot the Reaver that killed it, Hatred Unbound, causing it to lose all structural points on its legs and take 1 critical damage. It then fell over and slammed into the other Magna Reaver, Arm Defilement, and took 5 points off its legs as well.
Atarus, next activation, the Nemesis Warbringer, turned 90 degrees with 2 turns and moved sideways 1 inch to bring it into the enemy Reavers into its fire arc and to use the building as cover from the other Warbringers.
Next, Legio Magna activation and movement phase. The Warbringer on the right-hand side turned 2 turns to get in line with the enemy Reaver.
Atarus' final activation is the Warhound Squadron. They move to try and block in the enemy Reaver so that he can't move out, and also push the reactor to get in front of the Warbringer, hoping that my reactor is in orange, that he will blow up and take the Warbringer with him.
Last activation for Legio Magna of the movement phase. The Reaver stayed where it was to try and duke it out with the Warhounds and not get in the way of any other Titans firing arc. And the last Warbringer turned to line up with the Warhound and Reaver in front of it.
Atarus, damage control phase, turn 2. The Reaver Titans weren't really damaged and just vented some plasma, as did the Warbringer. The Warhounds were all in orange on their reactor, so D6 was rolled on the reactor table. The Warhound in front of the Nemesis took a Strength 9 hit to the body and got damaged, while the other two had Void Shield burnout, but on the repair phase managed to reactivate their Void Shields, one gaining 1 and the other 2.
Legio Magna damage control plays. General recovery of plasma across the board, with the exception of the Power Fist wielding Reaver that managed to repair the critical on its legs.
Priority Atarus combat phase. First activation, Warhound Squadron. The first Warhound attacks the Warbringer, destroying a weapon. The second Warhound in front of the Reaver attacked with a plasma blast gun, destroying a weapon. Then the Mega Bolter targeted the weapons but failed to damage. The final Warhound then fired its blast gun, scoring 4 hits and causing enough criticals on the legs to cause engine kill. Rolling for the catastrophic damage, we got the laid low results. The Reaver Titan then stumbled and fell, hitting Iron Hunger, taking out its Mega Bolter.
Next activation in combat phase was the Reaver with a Power Fist. First, it fired at the Reaver in front of it using the laser blaster, which caused 3 damage and a critical. It's then aiming with the Power Fist at the now damaged legs. Hits once. Next, I took a bit of a risk with the Apocalypse Missile Launcher, aiming at the already damaged legs. I needed a 5 because of the +1 from the stratagem I played at the start of the turn, and fortunately I rolled 3 5s and a 6. I'm now going to roll these 4 hits, and I need 3s or more with the combined stratagem and plus already to damage to cause any structure points. That's 3 hits. The combined damage to the hits and the legs from the Apocalypse Missile Launcher caused enough catastrophic damage on the enemy Reaver. Engine kill. Catastrophic damage result on the Reaver was a magazine detonation resulting in a 10-inch blast. This took the shields off the Reaver with the chain fist. It failed to do any damage to the Atarus Reaver and caused 1 point of damage to the head of my Reaver with a Power Fist.
Atarus combat phase, activation, Reaver Titan fired all its weapons at the Warbringer in front of him, causing him to push his reactor to increase shield saves, and he lost 3 shields.
Next activation for Legio Magna, the Reaver with the chain fist fired the Vulcan Mega Bolter at the rear of the enemy Reaver in front of it. Amazingly, he scored 7 hits, but the enemy Reaver managed to save all of these, forcing it to push a reactor, but he got that for free. The Melter Cannon then hit and took off 1 shield.
So the Nemesis, last activation combat phase, fired all its weapons at the Reaver Titan slightly further away. This is because the Quake Cannon was not in range of the front Reaver due to the scale. I took the risk with -2 to hit with the Reaver covering the other Reaver, and only managed to lose 1 shield.
Nemesis Warbringer, Destined Sorrow, fired at the Warhound that is stood in front of it. It missed with its Volcano Cannon, but managed to score 2 hits with the Laser Blaster, forcing the Warhound down to the last point on critical. Last activation for Legio Magna, the Warbringer, Mother of Despair, fired, trying to finish off the Warhound that was in front of its comrade. It hit with the Mauer Cannon. Unfortunately, it failed to hit the damaged body and scored 2 critical hits on the legs instead.
In the end phase, Death Runner had to increase its reactor, and which caused it to a strength 9 hit to its body, which then exploded, causing engine kill. It then got wildfire, and it shot up its own fellow Warhound, taking damage to its body and causing 3 criticals to Iron Hunger.
End of turn 2, which became a brawl in the middle of the table. Both sides lost engines. Both sides now have severely damaged engines, and it is a close quarters fight to the death. Legio Magna, turn 3, priority. In the strategy phase, both Reavers managed to pull off a charge order again. Alongside that, the Warbringer, Destined Sorrow, managed to pull off a first fire order, but unfortunately, the second Warbringer failed its command check and no more orders were given.
Atarus, turn 3, strategy phase. Warbringer has been given first fire orders. The Reaver has no orders, and the Warhounds have both got charge orders.
Turn 3, movement phase, Legio Magna. First activation was a charge into the rear of the Atarus Reaver with Armed Defilement. Because of the 6 inches that I travel, I get 5 attacks, and I need 2s to hit, which is 4 hits. The Chain Fist on the Reaver managed to score 4 hits, including a direct, a devastating, and 2 criticals on the body of the Atarus Reaver, pushing it to the very last point of critical.
Atarus, first activation, movement phase. Warhounds charged the Nemesis Warbringers before they got destroyed. First Warhound charged in and did 2 points of damage on the body of the first Nemesis. The second Atarus Warhound charged into the rear of the other Nemesis Warbringer and managed to score 4 hits, causing 4 points of damage on the legs.
Second activation in the movement phase was a charge by the Magna second Reaver with the Power Fist. I'm aiming for the body as it only needs 1 point of damage to kill it. He rolled 5 dice, but only scored 2 hits. I now need to see what happens. Double 1 does nothing.
Atarus' next activation is the Warbringer on first fire orders. The Magma Reavers are just in its arc, so it fires its laser blaster aiming at the Reaver with no shield and damaged legs, scores 3 hits with 3 6s, and does enough damage on the legs to knock the Reaver over and cause engine kill. We then roll on the catastrophic damage and roll a 10, which is a critical meltdown. The result of the catastrophic explosion was 4 points of damage to the body on the Nemesis Warbringer, a destroyed melter gun on the Atarus Reaver, and enough damage onto the legs of the remaining Magma Reaver, which has caused another catastrophic result on the damage chart.
Magazine detonation on the Legio Magna Reaver caused an 11-inch explosion, which caused 2 points of damage on the legs of the Atarus Reaver and 1 void shield to be knocked down on the Warbringer. Continuing with the very bloody movement phase, the first fire order on the Magna Warbringer, Destined Sorrow, fired the laser blaster at the damaged Warhound that was in front of it. I scored 2 hits to the body and killed it. Engine kill. The catastrophic damage roll for the brought down Warhound meant it was laid low. It staggered backwards and then sideways and fell into the dust and hit nothing.
Atarus, last activation is the Reaver. It pushed the reactor to gain extra movement, and the reactor moved up 2, and he moved straight forward to the Warbringers to try and get underneath their carapace guns.
Last activation for Legio Magna in the movement phase was a sideways shuffle of the last remaining Warbringer just to get the void shields outside of 2 inches from the Warhound whilst keeping aim on the very damaged Reaver in front of me. Legio Magna damage control phase, not a lot going on. I vented 2 plasma on Mother of Despair and repaired the volcano cannon damage on the other Warbringer.
Turn 3, Atarus, repair phase. The Warhound managed to repair a shield and vent a plasma. The Reaver Titan managed to repair its weapon and 1 shield, and a critical damage.
Turn 3, combat phase. Legio Magna, the rearmost Warbringer, opened up with the 2 weapons on his arms as the carapace quake cannon was too close. It cost 2 heat to fire the volcano cannon and the melter, but I scored enough hits to knock down 2 shields on the enemy Reaver.
Atarus combat phase, Reaver activated. It fired its Falcon Mega Bolter to shred all the remaining shields on the Warbringer in front of him. It then fired the Melter gun, causing critical damage on the legs. Then the Gatling Blaster fired, scoring 2 hits, but failed to penetrate the body.
Legio Magna, last activation in the combat phase. The Warbringer stood and fired its volcano cannon at the Reaver in front of it. This forced the reactor dice check. Unfortunately, the roll was a machine spirit, and I rolled haughty, which ended the current action.
Atarus combat phase, final activations. Warhound Scout Titan fired its plasma blast gun at the Nemesis Warbringer that had no shields. Got 3 hits on a weapon and destroyed the laser destroyer. The Mega Bolter then fired, scored a hit on the weapons but failed to destroy them. And then the Nemesis Warbringer, as it was on first fire orders, can only fire this turn, but nothing is in arc, so no activation for that this turn.
In phase for Legio Magna in turn 3, not a lot going on apart from stabilizers damaged on Destined Sorrow, which forced it to do a 45-degree turn to the right.
Atarus end phase, turn 3. The Warhound was in the red on the reactor, and due to damage on its body, the reactor went up 1, causing a strength 9 hit to the body, which caused another critical damage to its body. The Reaver Titan had critical damage to its body, which caused the void shield generators to burn out, and 1 point of reactor, taking it to the end of the reactor track as well. Turn 4, strategy phase. Atarus won the priority and decided to go first. Atarus then played their strategy card for the mission that they got free, which is Noble Sacrifice, on their remaining Reaver Titan, which is a risk because of the points, but it was a risk worth it to try and take out one of the Warbringers with its Noble Sacrifice. Managing to roll a d6 with a result of 4, plus the 3 for the track being in red, resulted in a catastrophic meltdown. The catastrophic meltdown then had an 8-inch range, hitting both Nemesis Titans, causing a weapon destroyed on the Quake Cannon on the nearest Warbringer. And then the rearmost Warbringer, all the hits went to the legs, finally killing it, causing engine kill. Now we're rolling to see what the catastrophic damage is on the Nemesis Warbringer. That legs were destroyed.
Laid low. The catastrophic result on the Warbringer caused a laid low result, which staggered forward over the hill and crashed to the deck next to the building.
Strategy phase, Atarus priority. The Nemesis Warbringer wasn't given any orders this turn. The Warhound was given first fire orders and is going to risk trying to fire his blast gun into the rear of the Nemesis.
Legio Magna strategy phase. Rolled for emergency repairs on the Warbringer, enabling it to repair 1 critical damage and repair the volcano cannon.
Movement phase, Atarus priority. The Warhound activated to fire its blast gun into the rear of the Nemesis Warbringer before it has a chance to move out of its arc. This was a risk. It fired the plasma blast gun, scoring 2 hits on the body on the Nemesis, causing a devastating and a critical hit. But due to the fact that I rolled a 1 on maximum firepower, this increased the reactor by 1, which caused a strength 9 hit to the body, which resulted in catastrophic damage. The Titan rolled a 1 for the catastrophic damage, which is silenced, so it remains there and can be shot at to cause it to fall down later on in the game if needed.
Only activation for Legio Magna in the movement phase. The Warbringer trundled down the hill to hopefully get a better arc next turn.
Atarus, movement phase, priority, final activation is the Warbringer. He did a turn, moved forward 5 inches, and then turned again to face off the other Warbringer.
Turn 4, Legio Magna damage control. Rolled the 4 dice, managed to repair the Mori Quake Cannon and vent some plasma.
Turn 4, priority, combat phase, Atarus. Final activation, Nemesis Warbringer. It fired all its weapons at the Magma Warbringer. The laser blaster took a chance to try and aim on the body, but missed with all its shots. It then fired its volcano cannon, scoring 2 hits to the body, which caused critical damage to already damaged body, which then caused a catastrophic hit and engine kill on a magazine explosion, but nothing was in range to really cause any damage to the explosion, thus ending the game. We're now going to top up the victory points and see who's won and the results.
That's what happens when Atarus and Magna meet underground in bitter battle against each other. I think you'll agree that was a really fantastic game. Alistair, or Al rather, give me your initial reaction of the game.
Well, I was after the first turn, and then with the second, losing Titans quite early on, and then John's Titans coming on and ambushing me from turn 2 onwards, I thought I'd lost that. I was quite shocked at the turnaround with the game, from turn 3 and 4 onwards, the amount of engine kills that we had from reactor meltdowns and explosions and chain reactions.
Yeah.
And I think, John, didn't we just have one Titan that died in actual combat?
Yeah, everything died in a movement phase or a end phase. Otherwise than that, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
The fact that your dying Titans took out more than I did.
My noble sacrifice.
You noble sacrifice blowing yourself up. The fact that your wildfire took out 2 of my Titans because it shot one and then fell into the other and messed them up on turn 2.
And then the risk I did on the last turn with my Warhound, I'm on the red, I'm going to fire my blast gun, plasma, maximum. Oh, I won't roll a 1. What do? I roll a 1, then I die.
It happens to the best of us, whether you're paying 30k, 80 or whatever. I think in my last game, no spoilers, I needed to roll 3 2-ups to keep my Magos alive, and I rolled 3 1s, and that's just the way it happens, and he died. But it was a bit
That
wild.
happened to John as well.
Yeah, that happened to me. I hit the same Reaver about 8 times. All I needed was 1 hit on the body, I hit the leg,
Yeah,
hit the weapon, everything else.
Yeah, you needed a 2 or more, and he had 2 dice, and he rolled 2 1s, and I survived. That Reaver, to do his noble sacrifice, must have survived so many hits and shots. It was ridiculous.
Kept him alive after how hard he worked to stay alive at that point.
Crazy, isn't that? Now, if we look at the victory points, the winner had to clear 500 points from the opponent to take the win. Now, although there was only 1 Legion left on the board, Legio rather, it's technically a draw. Is that right, gents?
Yes. I believe so. It's a very bitter draw as far as I'm concerned. I had nothing left. I'm not sure how I call out. I'm just assuming that I bled Alistair enough in my ambush to justify the means, and that's what I'm going with anyway.
So in the end, the points were it's the number of points that you killed. I think John lost 1,730.
40, yeah.
40 points, and he because I had a Warbringer left at the end, and that was it. I had lost 1,565 points.
Because you did have
I did have a slightly more points than John, because it was up to 2,000, but unfortunately he only had 1,750 points, so not my problem.
And to be fair, the extra stratagem came in useful in the first turn. Anyway,
we did give him an extra stratagem to compensate for the extra 200 points.
Okay, so there was a slight tweak to the game, but it was by no means made it dramatically swing in any favour. But Alice, you mentioned right at the beginning of the show that you played this a few times and you've been a bit unlucky, but this time you've brought it back, haven't you?
I was amazed at how lucky I got in those last couple of turns. The amount he just destroyed, blew up. It was quite satisfying to see John's Titans die for once. Because normally when I play John at the club, it's me dying. So it was actually quite good. Even though I'm happy with a draw because I've got to shoot all of his Titans.
Well, I think it's like a home field advantage for you here because every time we come here, your luck seems to spike dramatically, and
game,
everything just blows up, and we see what's left at the end. But we played this before, and you definitely played your strengths on this one. You knew what you were doing to get away from my ambushes and make the most of it, and keep things that would, like in previous games, that would have just been jumped and annihilated. You had like people holding back and covering you, so you definitely played the mission a lot better than in previous. So we both learned from this one. I certainly didn't learn in turn 4 though, when I walked towards an enemy warbringer after forgetting that it wasn't on first fire, and then blew up. So
managed to turn and face you, and they go, "Oh, by the way, John, you moved. You can't shoot." Oh, I can. Oh dear, it's dead.
Not the best tactical decision I've made.
But it makes a change in the last game we played. I don't know if you want to tell them about the last turn on the last game we played here.
Well, again, everything blew up. And we just waited to see how the dust settled. But I think that's on here.
Didn't I blow up myself, and then I lost the game because I blew up myself?
Something like that.
It's crazy, isn't it? That extra 20 quid that Alistair slipped me when he came here this morning really came in handy. So no, not at all. It's always best when there's two friends that come on, because they're like these guys here. They did a couple of pre-games, so they knew kind of the mission, and they got to grips with it. And if anything, it delivers more of a thrilling and exciting game when we film for the channel, rather than sort of two strangers never met and one person has an unlucky day or they're not playing against that army before. And sometimes a game can go one way, but not for anyone's fault. It's just newness and missions and armies and stuff. So it's always better when there's two friends that play each other. Well, I hope you agree that the game has been absolutely thrilling. Gents, there's a little bit of admin to take care of here. Now, I understand you belong to a particular club. Would you like to tell us all about that, please?
Yeah, we both belong to the War Games Association of Reading, which meets on every Wednesday night at Winnersh Community Centre between Reading and Wokingham in Berkshire. We're quite a large club, about 130 plus members.
Wow.
We also run an annual show called Warfare, which was due to be in Ascot this year, but unfortunately, due to the current climate, we've had to postpone to November next year. But we're moving to Ascot Racecourse, and it's going to be 3 times bigger. A lot more stuff happening there, so that's quite exciting. Hopefully, it'll go ahead and everything will be good this time next year. But you can find us on www.wargamesreading.co.uk or facebook.com/wargamesreading.
Great stuff. Now, also as well, I didn't mention this speaking of the show, that was my error in doing so, but both of your armies, as were the ones before, are absolutely fantastic. So well painted, so well modelled. You've got some great hobby, but just between the two of yourselves, haven't you? It's really good work.
Well, it's good when you've got a mate who kind of pushes you, so you keep on wanting to have to work hard. We're good with most of the guys we play with are quite talented, and so you kind of bounce off each other and get different ideas. I don't seem to get as much done as Alistair. I think this is my second Legio compared to your 6. But
you have got a wife and 2 kids, while I live on my own. So that's all I'm saying.
I guess so. But, I think agree from the photos that both of those legions, we're not paying 30k, we're paying 80. Those Legios look absolutely spectacular. Now, if our viewers want to see more of your Legios, where can we find you, Ali?
Well, I'm on Instagram as Osborne Alistair.
And I'm on Instagram as well under J_Bravo Boy.
It's the absolute best Instagram ever in the world. We love it. It's so good. I would love these two gents to come back for a game. So if you petition them enough on Instagram, hopefully they'll agree to come back, hopefully in the new year, and film another game for us. Gents, I really hope you've enjoyed today. The game was absolutely thrilling, and I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to watching it back, if I'm honest with you, so it'll be good fun for me to do that. How was the board for you? Was it okay? Enough terrain? Quite right? Did it represent a cavern enough for you?
I think it was grand. I mean, we decided beforehand which parts were kind of unpassable, and that really channeled people in, especially that rock over there, which became a pain.
Saved me.
Trying to go around it or over it, but not ending on it. The building in the middle actually did a lot more line of sight blocking than I thought. Certainly helped me in the first turn.
Great.
So yeah, it was grand.
Good stuff. And there is a board build video for this board, so if you want to see that, it's released at the same time of the game, and obviously all of the photos will come out at the same time release as the game goes out on the website. All that remains to say is, gents, thank you so much for your efforts today. It's been a pleasure having you, and I really hope to see you back very, very soon.
That's grand. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you very soon.